Hello, and welcome back to Web Development 101. This is part 2. In this video, we'll be looking at a couple of tools that we'll be using throughout the series. The first tool we'll be looking at is Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is an editor, and there are a number of them that you can use, such as Atom or WebStorm or Sublime, and it's up to you which one you prefer. But I'll be using Visual Studio Code, also known as VS Code. To install it, simply search for Visual Studio Code, and it should be one of the first links. So I'm going to use this link here, and then you simply download the installer from the website. There's also options for Windows. Once it's installed, you can open it like any other application. So this is simply a text editor for editing code. You could, I guess, call it a code editor. And it's a good idea to use software that's designed for editing code, because when you create files, it doesn't inject extra information into the file as would happen with something like Word or one of the visual editors. So what I'm going to do is start off by saying open a folder. You can either do this from the menu or from this welcome screen. So if I click that, I have a folder in here called Dev. Inside there it's Web Development 101. And then we see part 2, which is literally an empty folder. And I'll choose to open that. We can see the folder here on the side, and if you can't see that, you might need to click this little folder here, which brings up the navigation area. And what I want to do is create a new file, and I can do that by clicking this button here, and let's just call it example.txt because it'll just be a text file. And I can close this other tab if I want. So in here, we can say this is Visual Studio Code. What is interesting to note here is that this little dot indicates that this file has not been saved. Once I save it, you'll see that it'll go to a small cross. So I can either save it by clicking File, Save, or I can push Command S to save. If you want, you can configure VS Code to continuously save after you edit. So what we have here is we've created a file called example.txt, and it's in the folder called part 2. So if I bring on Finder here, we're inside the folder called dev. Inside there we have Web Development 101, and then inside there's the folder part 2, which is the same as that folder, and inside there we have this text file, this txt file. And if I click on that and just push spacebar, move this across, you can see it's the exact same thing that we have here. And there's nothing else in here. It's literally just the code that's been written there. That's essentially what VS Code is for, is to allow you to edit files and to write your code. The code that we'll be writing might be JavaScript or HTML or CSS. So let's just create a new file. And let's just call it script, or let's just call it example2 dot, and now we will give it an extension of JS, which is short for JavaScript. So these are the type of files we'll be writing when we type JavaScript. And what we will see now is that this editor understands that what we're about to type should conform to JavaScript. You can see at the bottom here, if we wanted to switch to a different language, we could, such as C# or something else. But right now we're in a JavaScript file, so it's made a good guess that we're going to type JavaScript. Now, if I type some random words in here, we can see how the editor displays the text when we are writing in a JavaScript file. Some lines of this are colored differently to other lines, and that's just because some of the words I've written, like this and const, they're actually keywords in JavaScript. So the editor actually understands JavaScript and can highlight certain things for me. And if I save this file, we can come back to Finder, and what I'll do is just open this one, and we can see here that there's nothing extra in here, even though the editor is using different colors here. That's just a visual representation that the editor uses. It just makes it a bit easier to read when we are actually typing code. But it doesn't actually change the underlying text file. And that's all we're going to cover for VS Code for now. The next tool we'll look at is FreeCodeCamp. So to get going with FreeCodeCamp, just come in here and search for FreeCodeCamp. And if we come in here, we can see that this is the starting page. And then to get going, you click Get Started. You can sign up, whichever one of these options you prefer. The benefit of this is that as you go, it will track your progress. And we will be doing this section here to start off with. Don't let the 300 hours scare you for now. And what we have here is the course. And pretty soon we will dig into this and start completing these exercises. So those are the only tools that we're going to look at for now. Thanks for joining me, and in the next episode, we'll dig into one of the core technologies that makes up a website, which is HTML. Cheers for now.